AITA, she dumped me for her ex, then expected me to keep paying her rent. I said no. The certified letter arrived on a Tuesday, 3 months after she'd walked out. I recognized the return address immediately. Her lawyer's office, a fancy firm downtown that I knew she couldn't afford on her own. My hand shook as I opened it, even though I knew I'd done nothing wrong. That's the thing about dealing with someone like Vanessa. They make you feel guilty even when you're the one who was wrong. They've spent so long twisting reality that you start to doubt your own mind. Dear Mr. Morrison, we are writing to demand payment of outstanding financial obligations in the amount of $14,750, representing your share of shared expenses, rent, and other costs incurred during your relationship with our client, Vanessa Price. These expenses include but are not limited to joint credit card debt, $8,200, utilities and household expenses, $3,500, and reasonable compensation for domestic services provided during the cohabitation period, $3,050. Failure to remit payment within 30 days will result in legal action for breach of implied contract, unjust enrichment, and potential claims for palimony based on the length and nature of your relationship. We trust this matter can be resolved amicably without court intervention. Sincerely, Harrison, Webb and Associates. I stopped reading. $14,750. She wanted me to pay her nearly $15,000 for the privilege of being cheated on and abandoned. And palimony? We weren't married. We'd never even been engaged. The audacity was staggering. My name is Daniel. I'm 36, an architect at a mid-sized firm in the city, and until 6 months ago, I thought I was going to marry Vanessa Price. We met 3 years ago at a mutual friend's wedding. I was standing at the bar, nursing a drink and trying to avoid the dance floor, when she appeared beside me. She was beautiful, striking, really, with dark hair that fell in waves past her shoulders, green eyes that seemed to see right through you, and a laugh that could light up a room full of strangers. She was a party planner, creative and social, the kind of person who knew everyone and made everyone feel special. I was quieter, more reserved, more comfortable with blueprints than people. But she drew me out of my shell. We danced all night. Well, she danced. I did my best to keep up, exchanged numbers, and were inseparable from that moment on. The first year was a fairy tale. We traveled together, weekend trips to charming bed and breakfasts, a glorious 2 weeks in Italy. We built a life, slowly and carefully, like the buildings I designed. She moved into my apartment, my 2-bedroom in the city, which I'd bought years before we met, a place I was proud of. We talked about marriage, kids, a house in the suburbs with a yard and a garden. I was all in. Completely, utterly, foolishly all in. The cracks began to show in year 2. Small things at first, the kind of things you explain away because you want to believe. She'd be secretive with her phone, turning it face down whenever I entered the room. She'd be vague about her whereabouts, defensive when I asked simple questions. She'd mention an old friend, named Marcus, with a familiarity that made my stomach clench. When I asked about him, she'd wave it off. Just someone I used to know, she'd say, her voice light. High school sweetheart. Ancient history. He's married now, lives in another state. Why are you so curious? I wanted to believe her. I loved her. I trusted her. I'd been burned before, in my 20s, by a girlfriend who'd cheated. I told myself I was being paranoid, projecting old wounds onto a new relationship. I was wrong. Looking back now, with the clarity of hindsight, the warning signs were everywhere. They were blindingly obvious, a neon sign flashing danger that I somehow managed to ignore. The phone. Vanessa was never without her phone. She took it to the bathroom, slept with it under her pillow, clutched it like a lifeline. If it buzzed when I was nearby, she'd glance at it quickly, then turn it away before I could see the screen. Once, when she was in the shower, it buzzed repeatedly, 6, 7, 8 times in a row. I didn't look. I told myself it was none of my business. The schedule. She started working late with increasing frequency. Big event coming up, she'd say. The Johnson wedding is a nightmare. Or, corporate gala, you wouldn't believe the demands. I'd offer to pick her up, bring her dinner, and she'd deflect. Don't bother, sweetie. I'll be so late, and I'll just fall asleep as soon as I get home. The distance? She pulled away emotionally. The easy intimacy of our first year, the long talks, the spontaneous affection, the way we'd curl up on the couch and watch movies, evaporated. When I tried to initiate, she'd be tired, or stressed, or have a headache. I told myself it was normal, that relationships ebbed and flowed, that she was under pressure at work. The name. Marcus. It kept coming up, always in passing, always casual. Marcus used to love this restaurant. Marcus had a car just like that. Marcus always said I was too dramatic. Too dramatic. The word choice haunted me later. I asked about him once, directly. Vanessa, who is Marcus to you? Really? She sighed, rolled her eyes, made me feel like I was being needy. He's my ex, Daniel. We dated in high school and then again in college. It was intense, but it's over. He's married now. He lives in Ohio. Why are you so hung up on this? I wasn't hung up. I was observant. But I let her make me feel like the bad guy for asking. The money. This was the sign I should have noticed most of all. Vanessa had always been casual about money. She spent freely, assumed I'd cover things, never seemed worried about bills. I didn't mind. I made a good salary, and I loved her. But in that second year, her spending increased. Designer bags, spa memberships, expensive dinners with clients I never met. The joint credit card balance crept up. I paid it without complaint, assuming it would even out. It didn't. The intuition. The worst sign, the one I ignored most completely, was my own gut. I knew something was wrong. I felt it in the pit of my stomach every time she walked in the door with that too bright smile, every time she kissed me goodbye with lips that felt practiced rather than passionate. I woke up at night next to her, staring at the ceiling, knowing that something was off. But I pushed it down. I told myself I was being insecure. I told myself that trust meant giving her the benefit of the doubt. I told myself that love meant believing the best. I told myself a lot of lies. Then I found the messages. It was a Friday in June, about 2.5 years into our relationship. I'd planned a surprise weekend getaway, a cabin in the mountains, just the two of us, to celebrate our anniversary. I'd booked it months in advance, arranged for her to have Friday off through her boss, a favor he'd granted with a knowing smile that I didn't understand until later, packed her bags without her knowing. I was excited, giddy almost like a teenager with a crush. I came home early to surprise her. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. I called her name. No answer. Then I heard sounds from the bedroom. I won't describe what I saw. Some images are too painful to put into words, too searing to ever fully erase from memory. But I'll say this, Marcus wasn't in Ohio. He wasn't married, or if he was, his wife didn't know where he was that afternoon. He was very much present, very much in my bed, very much with my girlfriend. Vanessa's face when she saw me was a masterpiece of horror and shame, a perfect blend of guilt and embarrassment that any actor would envy. Marcus just looked annoyed, like I was interrupting something important. Daniel, wait! Vanessa started, reaching for a sheet to cover herself. As if modesty mattered at that point. I didn't wait. I didn't speak. I didn't scream or cry or throw things. I just walked out, down the stairs, into the street. I walked for hours, not feeling anything, not thinking anything, just moving. The city passed by in a blur, streets I'd known for years suddenly unfamiliar, alien. When I finally came back, they were gone. The bed was stripped, the sheets stuffed in a garbage bag by the door. A note on the kitchen counter, written in Vanessa's looping handwriting. Daniel. I'm so sorry you had to find out that way. I know this is terrible. I know I've hurt you. But Marcus and I, we have history. We have a connection that goes deeper than anything I can explain. He's the love of my life. I never should have tried to replace him. I never should have pretended our relationship was over when it wasn't. I'll come get my things this weekend while you're at work. I'll stay with Marcus until we figure things out. I hope someday you can understand. Vanessa. Replace him. I was the replacement. The placeholder. The man she settled for while waiting for her real love to come back. 3 years of my life, 3 years of love and trust and building a future, and I was just a stand-in. I sat on the couch, our couch, the one we'd picked out together, and stared at that note for an hour. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. I don't know why. Evidence, maybe? Proof that I wasn't crazy. Proof that the last 3 years had actually happened, even if they'd been a lie. The first month after Vanessa left was a blur of grief and numbness. I went to work, came home, stared at walls. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I lost 15 pounds that I didn't have to lose. Friends reached out, but I couldn't talk about it. The humiliation was too raw, too deep. The woman I loved had chosen another man, and not just any man, but the man she told me was ancient history. My best friend, Marcus, different Marcus, I know, the universe has a sixth sense of humor, dragged me out of the apartment one night. You can't just disappear, he said, pushing a beer into my hand. You have to feel it. You have to talk about it. You have to let it out. I tried. I told him everything, the signs I'd ignored the moment I walked in, the note she'd left. He listened, nodded, said all the right things. But the hollow feeling didn't go away. I threw myself into renovating the apartment. It was therapeutic, in a way, physical proof that I was moving on, erasing her from my space. I painted over the accent wall she'd chosen, a bold teal that I'd never liked. I replaced the furniture we picked together, donating it to charity. I scrubbed every surface, purged every trace, exorcised every ghost. Then the bills started arriving. At first they were addressed to her, credit card statements, medical bills, a gym membership. I forwarded them to her new address without comment, assuming she'd handle them. Then came the ones with both our names. The joint credit card was the first. We'd opened it a year into our relationship for household expenses, groceries, utilities, the occasional date night. I'd been careful with it, paying off my share each month. Vanessa, I now discovered, had not. The balance was $8,200. Most of the charges were from the past 6 months, clothes from boutiques I'd never heard of, spa treatments, expensive dinners at restaurants I'd never been to. Dinners with Marcus, I realized. Paid for with our joint card. The utilities were next. The electric bill, the internet, the water, all in my name, but with charges from the months before she left that I hadn't yet paid. I paid them. They were my responsibility. Then came the letter from her gym, demanding payment for a year-long contract she'd signed but abandoned. Then a notice from her doctor's office about an outstanding balance. Then a collections call about her car payment. I forwarded everything to her new address. I didn't pay a dime. 2 months after she left, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Vanessa. She'd gotten a new phone, new number, probably to avoid me, though I had no intention of contacting her. Daniel, I need you to pay the joint credit card bill. It's in both our names and it's affecting my credit. I stared at the message, disbelief warring with anger. She wanted me to pay for the dinners she'd shared with her lover. I typed back. I paid my half. The rest is yours. Her response was immediate. That's not how it works. We agreed to share expenses when we opened that card. You can't just decide to stop. I agreed to share household expenses. I didn't agree to fund your affair. A pause. Then, that's not fair. I need help. Marcus doesn't have much right now and I can't afford. Not my problem. I blocked the number. The text continued from different numbers, burner phones, I assumed, or friends' phones. Vanessa was relentless. She needed money for rent. She'd moved into Marcus's apartment, but apparently he wasn't contributing. She needed money for a car payment. She'd quit her job when she moved out, assuming I'd support her. She needed money for medical bills, she'd always had health issues, and her insurance had lapsed. Each request was more desperate, more entitled. Each time I said no. Then the messages changed tone. They became accusatory, angry. You're ruining my life. I gave you 3 years and you won't even help me when I'm struggling. You were always selfish. This just proves it. My lawyer says you have to pay. You're going to hear from him soon. I ignored them all. I had nothing to say to her. I was done. The certified letter arrived 3 months after she'd left. $15,000. Palimony. Unjust enrichment. Breach of implied contract. Legal action. I called my lawyer that afternoon. Patricia Chin was a sharp, no-nonsense woman in her 50s who'd handled my contracts and my condo purchase for years. She read the letter, chuckled, and tossed it on her desk. Palimony? In this state? Please. She leaned back in her chair. New York doesn't recognize palimony unless there's a written agreement. You never signed anything, did you? No. We weren't even engaged. Then she's got nothing. Unjust enrichment? You lived together, you shared expenses, you broke up. That's life. Implied contract? She'd have to prove you agreed to support her indefinitely, which you clearly didn't. So I don't owe her anything? You don't owe her a dime. In fact, if she keeps pushing, we might have grounds to countersue for harassment and legal fees. But let's see if she's bluffing first. She wasn't bluffing. A month later, I was served with a lawsuit. Vanessa was suing me for $14,750, plus legal costs, and damages for emotional distress. The complaint was a work of fiction, claiming I'd orally agreed to support her while she pursued career opportunities, that I'd induced her to quit her job, that I'd been unjustly enriched by her domestic services, cooking, cleaning, emotional support. I read it with a kind of detached fascination. This was the woman I'd loved. This was the person I'd trusted with my heart. And now she was trying to destroy me in court. The case dragged on for 8 months. 8 months of depositions, document requests, endless legal fees. 8 months of reliving the worst period of my life, of having my pain picked apart by lawyers and turned into evidence. Vanessa's story changed constantly. In her initial complaint, she claimed I'd promised to support her forever. In her deposition, it became for as long as she needed. In her testimony, it morphed into implied by our relationship. Her lawyer, a slick young man from a fancy firm, tried to paint me as a wealthy man taking advantage of a vulnerable woman. The truth was simpler. I made a good salary, but I wasn't rich. Vanessa had quit her job because she wanted to, not because I'd asked her to. And the domestic services she'd provided were the normal give and take of any relationship: cooking meals, cleaning up, being a partner. My lawyer deposed Marcus. It was, without question, the most satisfying moment of the entire ordeal. Marcus was in his early 40s, handsome in a worn-out way, with the kind of charm that probably worked on women who didn't look too closely. Under oath, he was evasive, uncomfortable, clearly wishing he was anywhere else. Mr. Thompson, how long have you known Miss Price? Since high school. We dated off and on. Were you dating Ms. Price during her relationship with Mr. Morrison? Objection. Overruled. We kept in touch. Kept in touch. Is that what we're calling it? Patricia held up a stack of phone records. These records show over 2,000 text messages between you and Ms. Price during the last year of her relationship with Mr. Morrison. Many of them late at night. Many of them explicit. Would you like me to read some aloud? Marcus's face went pale. That's not necessary. Were you having a sexual relationship with Ms. Price while she was living with Mr. Morrison? A long pause. Then, quietly, yes. And during that time, did Ms. Price ever mention her financial arrangements with Mr. Morrison? She said he paid for everything. Rent, bills, credit cards. She said she was saving up so she could leave him. Saving up. Patricia smiled, a predator's smile. So she was using Mr. Morrison for financial support while planning to leave him for you. Is that accurate? Marcus squirmed. I don't know if I'd put it that way. How would you put it? She was in a difficult situation. She needed to be careful. Careful. Yes. Patricia set down the phone records. No further questions. The deposition was a disaster for Vanessa's case. Marcus's testimony, combined with the phone records, painted a clear picture of manipulation and deceit. Vanessa had been using me, financially and emotionally, while carrying on an affair behind my back. But the real turning point came when my lawyer subpoenaed Vanessa's bank records. They revealed something even I hadn't known. Vanessa had been secretly depositing money into a separate account for over a year. Small amounts at first, then larger ones, cash withdrawals from our joint account, transfers she'd made while I was at work, money she'd been siphoning from the household funds. In total, nearly $12,000 that she'd hidden from me. When Patricia presented this evidence at a pre-trial hearing, Vanessa's face went white. Her lawyer looked like he'd been punched. Your Honor, Patricia said smoothly, it appears that Ms. Price was not only planning to leave my client, she was actively stealing from him while doing so. We'll be amending our countersuit to include fraud and conversion. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, looked at Vanessa with undisguised contempt. Ms. Price, you're alleging that Mr. Morrison was unjustly enriched? Based on this evidence, it appears you were the one doing the enriching of yourself. Vanessa tried to speak, to explain, but the judge cut her off. I've seen enough. This case is dismissed with prejudice. Ms. Price, you will pay Mr. Morrison's legal fees, which I'm estimating at $15,000 based on the affidavits submitted. And I strongly suggest you reconsider your approach to relationships. The gavel banged. It was over. The lawsuit ended, but the fallout continued. Vanessa's reputation crumbled. Mutual friends who'd heard her side of the story now saw the evidence, the texts, the bank records, the pattern of manipulation. She lost friends, lost social standing, lost whatever credibility she'd had. Marcus left her 3 months after the case ended. The stress of the lawsuit, the public humiliation, the constant drama, it was too much for their epic love story. He moved out, moved on, left her with nothing. I heard through the grapevine that she tried to reconcile with him, begged him to come back, but he'd had enough. She moved back in with her mother, worked odd jobs, retail, temp work, anything to survive. The party planning career she'd loved was over. No one in that industry wanted to work with someone whose name had been in the papers for fraud. I should have felt satisfied. I'd won. She'd lost. Justice was served. But all I felt was empty. I stayed in therapy for another year, working through the layers of betrayal and self-doubt. Dr. Reynolds, my therapist, helped me understand why I'd ignored so many red flags, why I'd let myself be used for so long. You were in love, she said. Love makes us blind. It's not a character flaw, it's a human one. The important thing is what you do next. I learned about boundaries, about self-worth, about the difference between love and codependency. I learned that being a good partner doesn't mean being a doormat. I learned that trust has to be earned, not given freely, and that it's okay to walk away when someone shows you who they really are. I started dating again, carefully, slowly. I met Elena at a coffee shop, of all places. She was reading a book I loved, and I commented on it. We talked for an hour, exchanged numbers, and took it slow. No grand gestures. No rushing. Just two people getting to know each other, building trust over time. Elena was different from Vanessa in every way that mattered. She was honest, direct, emotionally available. She had a steady job as a teacher, a close group of friends, a life that didn't revolve around drama. When we had disagreements, we talked them through. When I had doubts, she listened without judgment. 2 years after Vanessa walked out, I was in a different place entirely. The apartment was mine again, truly mine, without ghosts. My career was thriving. I'd been promoted to senior architect, leading my own projects. My relationship with Elena was solid and growing. Then, out of the blue, Vanessa contacted me again. The message arrived on Facebook, of all places. Vanessa had created a new account. Her old one had been deleted after the lawsuit, and she reached out with a simple request. "Can we talk? I owe you an apology." I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to block her, to move on with my life. But another part, the part that still carried the weight of what happened, needed closure. I showed Elena. She read it, handed the phone back, and said, "Whatever you decide, I support you. But if you go, be careful. People like that don't change overnight." I agreed to meet, neutral ground, public place, 1 hour max. We met at a coffee shop near my office. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table, nursing a cup of tea. She looked older, thinner, worn down. The sparkle that had once drawn me to her was gone, replaced by something fragile and tired. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I know I don't deserve it." I sat across from her, leaving my coat on. "What do you want, Vanessa?" She took a deep breath. "I've been in therapy. Real therapy, not the kind I pretended to do. I've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. It's not an excuse, but it's an explanation. For the lying, the manipulation, the way I use people. I've been working on it for 2 years now." I listened, saying nothing. "I wanted to apologize. Not to get anything from you. I know you owe me nothing, and I know you'll never trust me again. But because you deserve better. You were a good man, Daniel. A good partner. And I treated you terribly. I used you. I lied to you. I cheated on you. And then I tried to destroy you in court when you wouldn't let me use you anymore." Tears were streaming down her face. Real ones, I think. With Vanessa, it was always hard to tell. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. And I'm truly, deeply sorry." I sat there for a long moment, processing. The woman who'd destroyed my trust, who tried to bankrupt me, who'd made my life hell for 2 years, sitting across from me, broken and sincere. "Thank you," I said finally. "For the apology. It means something. Can you ever forgive me?" I thought about it. About the pain, the betrayal, the years of healing. About the person I'd become because of what happened, stronger, wiser, more careful. About Elena, waiting for me at home, proof that love could exist without lies. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I'm glad you're getting help. I hope you find peace." I stood up, left money for my coffee, and walked out. I didn't look back. It's been 5 years since Vanessa walked out, 3 years since her apology. I'm 41 now, married to Elena, with a 2-year-old daughter named Lily who is the light of my life. The apartment I once shared with Vanessa is long gone. We sold it when we bought our house, a beautiful 3-bedroom in the suburbs with a yard and a swing set and room for Lily to run. Elena works as a teacher, comes home exhausted but happy, and we spend our evenings as a family. Dinner, bath time, stories, bed. I think about Vanessa sometimes, usually when I'm feeling grateful for what I have. The experience taught me things I couldn't have learned any other way, about boundaries, about self-worth, about the difference between love and dependency. It taught me to trust my instincts, to pay attention to red flags, to value myself enough to walk away when someone shows me who they really are. I never responded to Vanessa after that coffee shop meeting. I hope she's doing well, getting better, living a life that doesn't require using others. But I don't need to know. I don't need her in my life. Elena knows the whole story, all of it, the ugly parts included. She's never judged me for it, never made me feel foolish for what happened. She just holds me when I need holding and reminds me that the past is past. Lily doesn't know anything about it, of course. She's too young. But someday, when she's older, I'll tell her. Not the details, she doesn't need those. But the lesson, that love should lift you up, not drag you down. That the person who loves you will never ask you to sacrifice your dignity for their comfort. What I learned. I learned that love shouldn't cost you your self-respect. That someone who truly cares about you won't use you, lie to you, or expect you to support them while they destroy you. I learned that boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. They let in the right people and keep out the ones who would harm you. Vanessa taught me to build those gates, to test them, to trust them. I learned that healing takes time, but it happens. The pain that felt unbearable in those first months became manageable, then distant, then just a memory. I don't hate Vanessa anymore. I don't love her. I just don't think about her much at all. I learned that the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well. It's building a life so full and happy that the person who hurt you becomes irrelevant. The verdict. So, AITA for refusing to pay my ex-girlfriend's bills after she left me for her ex? No. Absolutely not. She used me. She cheated on me. She stole from me. She left me for the man she'd been seeing behind my back. And then she had the audacity to demand that I keep supporting her financially, to sue me when I refused, to try to destroy me in court. I owed her nothing. Not an explanation, not a dollar, not a moment of my time. The fact that she tried to take more from me after already taking so much only proves that I was right to cut her off. Some people will tell you that love means unconditional support, that you should be the bigger person, that holding grudges only hurts you. But there's a difference between holding a grudge and protecting yourself. There's a difference between forgiveness and allowing yourself to be used again. I forgave Vanessa, not for her sake but for mine. I let go of the anger, the resentment, the pain. But I didn't let her back in. I didn't give her another chance to hurt me. And I certainly didn't give her my money. That's not selfishness. That's self-respect. So no, I don't think I'm the asshole. I think I'm a man who finally learned to value himself enough to say, enough. And that lesson was worth every penny I didn't pay her. Video description and hashtags. My girlfriend of 3 years left me for her ex-boyfriend, the same man she'd been cheating with behind my back. 2 months later, she started demanding that I keep paying her bills. Rent, credit cards, medical expenses. She wanted me to support her while she built a life with someone else. When I refused, she sued me for $15,000, claiming I owed her palimony and unjust enrichment. Then her bank records revealed the truth. She'd been stealing from me the whole time. Hashtag ex-girlfriend, hashtag cheating, hashtag lawsuit, hashtag karma, hashtag entitlement, hashtag relationships, hashtag breakup, hashtag legal drama, hashtag true story, hashtag boundaries, hashtag self-respect, hashtag moving on, hashtag justice, hashtag emotional abuse, hashtag palimony, hashtag fraud, hashtag betrayal, hashtag healing, hashtag storytime. Thumbnail image prompt. YouTube thumbnail style, hyper-detailed, dramatic cinematic lighting. Split scene, on left, a man, Daniel, sits alone in a modern apartment, holding a legal document, his expression a mixture of disbelief and exhaustion. Shadows surround him, and behind him, ghostly images of text messages and bank statements float. On right, the same man stands in warm sunlight with a new family, a beautiful wife, Elena, and a smiling toddler, Lily, in front of a lovely house with a garden, genuine happiness on all their faces. In the background, a faded, ghostly image of a woman, Vanessa, counting money, her expression greedy and entitled, slowly dissolving. Text overlay. She left me for her ex, then sued me for $15,000. And the truth destroyed her in court. Cinematic, emotional storytelling style, high contrast between darkness and light. Pinned comment for engagement. This story raises important questions about boundaries, entitlement, and knowing your worth. Let's discuss. Was Daniel wrong to cut Vanessa off financially, or did he owe her support after 3 years together? How do you balance being generous in a relationship with protecting yourself from being used? Vanessa's diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. Does it explain her behavior? Does it excuse any of it? The bank records revealed Vanessa had been stealing from Daniel. How does that change your view of the situation? What would you have done in Daniel's position? Would you have accepted her apology years later? Share your thoughts below, but please remember that real people with real pain are at the center of this story. If you've been through a similar situation, what helped you heal? What would you tell someone going through it now? Your stories matter. That's it for today's stories. If you want to see more of the best threads Reddit has to offer, make Reddit Be Mine a part of your daily routine. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a heartbeat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next thread.